Therapy Army, let's be having you. Let's be having you, Therapy Army. Hey, we had 2 days. We had 2 days rest. We had to have a rest after that. It's been an exhausting season. It's been an exhausting season. Big up to our Stephanie. Stephanie Griffin will never die. The Parasite Vultures are having a darn good trying to see us off. Big up Nuruddin and Therapy Army. Big up to you. Lots of love to our Stephanie Griffin. Not having Licha is like a car without power steering and sat-nav Bluetooth. Gone back to the future captain. Definitely he's a future. He's my captain anyway. Ratcliffe wins. The deal was agreed before the rain got involved in Qatar, and Qatar were played all along. Oh, Jay Patel. Okay, Jay Patel maybe knows something that we don't. But big up to Therapy Army. We got the Norwegian crew here tonight. The Norwegian crew. We like our Norwegians, don't we? You know what I mean? You know what? And Ollie wins it. You know what I mean? That's the greatest, one of the happiest nights of my footballing watching life. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer put that ball in the net, and then having a team of Jensen and Højbjerg and all of these different kind of players in our regions who graced Manchester United, and especially in their most successful period. So
for sure,
nothing but love. I got family in Norway, you got family in Oslo, you know what I mean? And there's family here now on screen. This is Jarvis, this is our Sophia. Make sure you go and check out Sophia's channel. Sophia Talks Football, grafting like nobody's business. Grafting means is hardworking. So Mancunian or British slang, grafting. And our Jarvis doing it all. Look at him in his little studio, you know what I mean? Check him out. Check him out. Exactly.
Norway.
Yeah.
Exactly. Norway. Ain't Norway. They're representing and repped. Big up to every one of you. We got a packed show tonight. I ain't gonna lie to you guys. We've got a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about in terms of we're gonna be dissecting why we think the team is not scoring goals. Why do we think what's missing? What is there? If any player was to get injured, has the worst player got injured? That's the guy that we never wanted to get injured. A leader on the pitch. But more importantly, how underrated he is in terms of his ball playing abilities from the back and dictating the play from deep. Licha, Lissandro Martinez.
The butcher.
The butcher of Manchester. There we go. Big up. If you know, you know. Sophia, I'll go to you first. How much are we missing him? And is it concerning that since he's been out of the team, we've not really played in terms of possession and control at the back, in terms of him playing it through the lines to Bruno, to Eriksen, to Casemiro, or sometimes even bypassing them and hitting somebody like Rashford or any of the midfield runners? How much do we miss? And how underrated is Lissandro Martinez's ball playing abilities? How much is it underrated? Everybody talks about his defending,
but people need to show some, props to his ball playing abilities as well. Like there's often where he just gets into the middle of the pitch. He's kind of that link between the defenders and up to the midfield, and even to the attackers as well. So we are missing somebody that's a lot more calm and confident with the ball for sure. Yeah, a big miss, not just defensively, but like you also said, when it comes to the attack as well. And a leader as well. We're missing somebody that's a force to be reckoned with. So I definitely when he went out, and we found out he was going to be out for the remaining of the season. Yeah, that was a big blow, and then we do see it now for sure. So yeah, we need to do some proper shopping. Hopefully this summer. I mean, depending on we'll talk about the whole ownership and whatnot, but we we got to get some more defenders in. Some more people that are good with their feet. You know what I'm saying? So he's a big miss in my opinion. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Mundo, come back. I just missed you. Big up to everybody. Big up to Andre Ellis. Not seen you in a while. Big up to you, King. Big up to Lila. Big ups. Aladdin says here. Idaldin says here. Let me see. Get Mighty Mundo back on. Let's see here. Love the idea of having different nationalities, race, having different variety of people. Learn a lot from people's cultures. Big up Rick Astley. Hey, big up Rick Astley. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let
That is
you
one of my
go.
favorite
Never
songs.
gonna
Love that song.
and desert you. Listen, Jarvis ain't never deserting the therapy army. Just let you know. Just never deserting the therapy army. Mundo, big up to you. Big up to you. We're discussing Licha, how important his ball playing abilities, and how that is affecting the team in terms of the creativity. Sophia just said, yeah, we're missing him. We're missing how he plays. So I'm just off to Jarvis, and I'll come back to you, Jarvis. How much are we missing that man? How much are we missing Licha, the butcher?
Yeah, Ten Hag, when he first brought him in, he knew what he was doing, because we were missing a leader in the back line. Sophia touched on it, because we have De Gea. He never commands his back line. We have Varane. He's quiet. Shaw. The only leader we have now at the moment is Lindelof, but I don't think he have the authority to be the leader. So I'm not sure if he can even lead, but he tries. So kudos to him. But that's one of the biggest thing. And he not only lead with his mouth, but he leads with an example. He shows the guys the spirit. He cheers them on if they do a tackle, if they save something. They always like high five each other and go on. So it's very important. But you were touching on that, Nurdin, in the beginning. You said his ball playing abilities, his ability to play through the first line of press. It's extremely important, because now we don't have that. And the thing is, we play together with Shaw and Lindelof and De Gea, but as soon as they are under pressure, especially De Gea, his ball playing abilities under pressure is atrocious. So the thing is, every time he gets a ball, he just pings it long, and we're up to a duel in the midfield, and Ericsson and Bruno is not the biggest guy, so we usually lose most of them, and we get it in return as fast as it goes up. So for me, we have lost a vital element of our game with the Licha out, and you were right when you said the season was over when he got injured, because it looks like it now. Okay, we're in the FA Cup final, so it's not completely over, but it looks like we are going to struggle to get top four, and the Europa League went down the drain. So yeah, we will miss him.
Big up, Mundo. Big up. Go ahead, Mundo. How much are we missing this man? Big up Andrew Ellis as well. Remember, life-work balance, Andrew. You can't be working all the time and burning yourself out. Big up to you, though. Go ahead, Mundo.
Yeah, I think everything that Rick Ashley said.
There you go.
Yeah, about his importance for the team, because he leads by example. And the other thing that is very underrated, the thing that both him and Anthony have, is great ability on the ball in tight spaces. They never panic. They never kick the ball out. They're able to retain possession. And there's many a times where someone with a lesser ball playing ability than Licha, would have kicked the ball out of play or pass the ball to the opponent, but has that ability where you think, oh, he's going to get caught on the ball, and he's able to turn and wriggle out and then play a pass through the line. And as good as Shaw is in terms of his ability on the ball, he's not as good as Licha, in my opinion, and he's not as good in those types of situations where you just have to do a drop of a shoulder and get out of a situation and then play a pass. So we definitely miss that. We miss his aggressiveness as well. And his organisational skills, obviously. The only person in the back line who's got a voice. The rest of them are like mice, unfortunately. And that's a big problem. And I've noticed, okay, if you're a competent defender, you shouldn't really need geeing up. But if you look at when he's in the team, there's that camaraderie, there's that togetherness in the defense. The people are patting each other on the back, congratulating each other. They're communicating. They're giving high fives. I'm not seeing any of that at the moment. They, and as well as Lindelof and Shaw have done, I think, in particular in the Brighton game, when you just needed them to be a bit more forceful from the back, they just weren't. They did their jobs, but they competently, but they just didn't. Sometimes you just needed someone to just step up, and Licha does that, and he's very good at stepping into midfield. There's so many things you can say about this guy. He is a, we use the term Man United player a lot, and it's what is a Man United player? Well, if you ask me to give you an example of what a Man United player is, he's the guy. The guy, the players that, for the older panelists, the players that we grew up watching throughout the 80s and the 90s, he's got that old school kind of approach to the game, and we've missed that. We've missed that a lot, and we used to have 7, 8, 9, 10 players of that caliber in the first 11.
Yeah,
we haven't had that for a long time.
So many leaders. So many leaders. Yeah, I remember at times when we used to have like 7 or 8 captains on the football pitch. That's how crazy it was in the early 90s. Like, I remember that 93, 94 team, the team that to win the league. Palace, the Bruce, Parker, Irwin. Like, any of them could have been Roy Keane, Paul Ince, you know what I mean? Robbo even as a substitute. Kanchelskis, Giggs, like Cantona, Hughes. Any of those guys could have been. Big up to Mr. Ruby himself.
Oh, good. Big up. I just woke up. I had a nap.
Yeah, big up, brother. Big up, brother. I hope you. How's the injury?
Same as you, man. I'm just nursing it. I'm walking on one leg, basically. Pinched nerve in the lower back. I did some gardening and lifting, and woke up the next day. I couldn't hardly stand. That feeling. Ouch. So 3 days limping around, putting Tiger Balm, just keeping it warm, sitting on the left butt cheek. As we speak.
Are you describing your own injury, or are you describing Harry Maguire? Because everything you just pretty much sounds like how Harry Maguire plays football.
No, all good, mate. All good.
Man. Big up to you, man. Big up to you. Big
How's
up
your
to
shoulder?
Rashid. Yeah, but it's still there. It's still there. A bit more pain yesterday, but I'm gonna go and see a physiotherapist tomorrow, so I'm glad about that. Big up to Rashid. Rashid, long time. Where have you been, man? Where have you been since the World Cup was done? You dipped. Big up to everybody. Please smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Road to 10K. Where we go. I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't think Mr. Greenwood is ever going to be returning to Manchester United anytime soon. So big up, big up to everybody in the chat. Love and light, people. So Nick, we're talking about Licha, the butcher of Manchester. We're talking about his ball playing abilities, how much we miss him. You know what I mean? How he's passing through the third, how we miss that, and how that we're lacking that creativity in the team and cohesion in the team, and how that is, I think, is one of the factors. There's many factors why we're not scoring goals, but I think that's one of the factors.
100%. We talked about this yesterday in our Bold Trafford podcast, where Jarvis and if you were Ten Hag for 1 hour, what would you have done differently? And clear and obvious, that is the backbone, that is the spine, what he's built, basically Licha and Varane. And with those being ripped apart, so you just basically have to restructure the spine and the midfield and everything else. So 100%, I mean, he knew what he was building, right? He knew what he was paying for in terms of Licha. He wanted a left-sided center back. Everyone was complaining about, the height and everything, calling him a midget or hobbit or whatever. But he's proven to be like a modern type of center back as the game is changing, like a ball-playing center back, press resistant, is good in the air for his height. And we missed him, but in all fairness, in compliment, Luke Shaw has done that job fantastically well. But that's kind of the part of the reason also why we've seen the drop-off, Nerden, to be honest. So you just basically have to play with what you got. And fatigue sets in 100%, Is he to blame for his injuries? I don't know. We clearly don't have a rotation for Licha. We don't, we do have a rotation for Varane in terms of Lindelof, but we don't have anyone else. Oh,
Yeah.
now we have Shaw though, but Shaw is the preferred choice left back, to be honest. So yeah, he's definitely done a massive transition and change to the way we are playing from the back. Although De Gea's distribution has been a little bit of a suspicion, but you seem time to time that the instruction how we play out from the back or if we play long balls. But when Licha is playing, there is confidence. When Licha is not playing, there's a little bit of shakiness in that defense.
Yeah. Big up to Lilas. Listen, we're going to be doing a match preview tomorrow night. So big up to everybody. Therapy, I mean, put that in your diary. Around this time tomorrow, we'll be doing a preview. I always like to do a preview after hearing from the manager with that little bit of information. So big up to everybody. Big up to also Andrew Ellis. Mundo lived in Singapore for a year, so hopefully he'll give you some tips. Mundo, have you got any tips for Andrew? He's going to Singapore at the end of the month to celebrate his birthday. Happy birthday for next month, brother.
Birthday.
Yeah.
Just enjoy the food. That's what I will say. The food is banging wherever you go. Especially in the food halls. They've got like food halls where you just go and just there's all different types of cuisines, mainly Asian food, but yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, you hear that, Andrew? Enjoy the banging food. The food is banging. The food halls. That's where he's at. Try all of that food. Big up Rashid. Rashid says, "Lol, my brother, I was always here. I've been trying to get together with Sheikh Jassim to get him over the 6 feet to get these out. Rashid in, mate. Ratcliffe, the rat out. So as you can see, actually, that takes us into the next. We've got lots of other topics to talk about, but just a thing to add to what before we move on to what the Glazers and the Parasites are doing, and how much now we're getting clickbaited. Even the Express newspaper, these horrendous xenophobic, racist newspapers are getting involved in the UK. You got the Sun and the Express and all of that coming out with their exclusives. So everybody, like I always said from the beginning of this process, we're getting clickbaited the hell out of. Honestly, they're treating it like it's a transfer window. But anyway, I'll just say something about the Butcher. I genuinely think, honestly, I'm not going to lie to you, that was for me the lowest point of the season. Some people ask, the lowest point of the season might have been when we got smashed 7-1. I was angry actually when it's 3-4-0. I switched it off and I started a Twitter space on Twitter. Same thing with Man City when it was 4-0. I started a space on Twitter, so I didn't even watch that. Newcastle, I remember I switched it off. I think 10 minutes ago, I was like, I'm not watching this. This is just horrendous. This is going to torment me mentally. So, but the lowest point of the season for me was watching that Sevilla game. Hate that, knowing how much I hate that competition, knowing that the captain for me, when you go to the stadium, honestly, I can't tell you enough. When he's on the pitch, you think it's going to be all right. We've got Sandro Martinez. Everything's going to be all right. It's going to be all right.
Yeah.
That's the level of kind of comedy. Because for me, when people ask me, I'm like, that's my real captain. He's my real captain. He is my captain. So devastating how much that has meant. And to credit Lindelof and Shaw, to be fair, they stepped in defensively. But in terms of, he didn't just offer things to us defensively, he offered so much more in terms of the team cohesion. And the thing that actually you remember, you see it now, David De Gea started making mistakes when Licha's not in the team.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, just look where he came from, like, playing from the streets in Argentina, right? We're talking about all these street players, right? You see like the likes of Anthony, they played barefoot street football, and you see the toughness in them, right? The rawness, right? And they carry that onto the pitch, And this is what I always say to you, Neredin, like, we should be more astute, like a Brighton, always go and look at the grassroots instead of getting the clear and obvious, because these players, they play with heart and spirit, which in South America, they call it mana, which is spirit, right? And it's working, but I don't know, under Woodward, we always seem to get those shirt sellers instead of getting the players. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, man. Listen, 40, that's the big one. Big one, Andrew Ellis. Enjoy Enjoy, man. Enjoy your 40s, man. Big up.
40. Congratulations.
Said he loves
But regarding the
Singapore and
clickbait media and Nerdin, all I'm missing is personal terms, not a problem.
this is oh god, yeah. That's all that's all we're missing, yeah. Everything agreed, personal terms agreed. Big up. Don't
No
go to
problem.
Singapore. You will see Harry Big Head Maguire will run you to your birthday. Don't go to Singapore. That's where does that coming from? 4th of June already. Yeah, man. Wow. The 4th of June. Or the 4th of July. Okay, that's the American thing. But the 4th of June, eh? It's your birthday. So enjoy your birthday, Andrew. Not seen you in a really long time. One of the early therapy army. One of the earlier therapy army members. Big up to MK United 19, known as Malcolm Kalisa. Big up to you. Big up Nuruddin. He says Arian Rashid. Arian Rashid, I really hope that the GCSE revision is going well. Like I said to you, back on the channel. I need a proof of those grades for you to get back on the channel. Sophia, you're wearing my favorite United kit. I had the number 11 gigs on the back. Absolutely loved it. Reminds me of the Kantar Confuga. That night in Soles Park. There you go. So I'm gonna go to you, Sophia, actually, just to say that. So there's a lot of there is a lot of PR game being played in the UK. We had about 2 weeks of a lot of how would I say, a lot of British media prop for Jim Ratcliffe talking about
Pro Jim stuff.
Jim the Rat. That's what his name, Jim the Rat.
Jim the Rat.
Yeah, Jim the Rat.
Yeah.
And how he's gonna prep up the Glazers for them to stay. And then he came out that they're only gonna be here for 2 more years or 3 years at the most.
Bull crap. But
2026. And then he's gonna put a clause in for them to sell. And then you've had other things saying, people coming out saying, oh no, actually it's Sheikh Jazim is to lose and Qatar's to lose. They're the front runners. So we're going from throw and back, but obviously that turned a lot of people in it. That's why you got Full Sail trending. It's really fascinating because I think by March, at the end of February, players, agents, players, intermediaries, in terms of future transfers, what you touched on earlier about us needing to buy players like the Butcher, that kind of mentality, that physicality, that kind of hunger Mundo alluded to, that type of old school mentality that would, leaving everything on the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Not a weak mentality, the fighting mentality. You know what I
mean?
Yeah.
But Sophia, how would you think now, Eric Ten Hag? I did a show. The last show that we did actually was on a Monday. Me, Saeed and Tom, big up Saeed and Tom. We did a show and we basically, I literally did the quotes. If none of you have seen it, go and check that show out. By the way, it was about it's, to me, it is close as you can get interview to Raniak's interview. But Ten Hag is very clever. He did it very, very kind of calm and very kind of not as explosive. But he basically said, I don't know how much money I've got. I don't know what's happening with the sale, why it's taking so long. But our top flight football, you need to buy players. So it's the interview. It's the second part of the press conference before Brighton. So
the second embargo, that's
part two, yeah. So Sophia, in a long question, I've drawn it out.
It's okay.
How do Manchester United function like a normal football club when this is hanging over us and we're now going into the end of May and people are talking it might be the end of the season? I mean, the Glazers are not in no way putting anything, and all the Access journalists are tweeting 100 million plus sales. Well, the only two people that we've sold in recent years is like Smalling. We made a bit of money on, and he wanted to go. He forced
Dan
that
James
and Dan James. That's it. So go ahead. How do you think? What's going on? What's your view? What the news you're getting in Scandinavia? What are you getting? What are you sensing?
Well, there's too much. I feel like it's too much like flip-flop type of news. Like, can't we? What is right? I've tried to not be too reactionary. I'm just waiting for, that everybody's level-headed and everybody's on the same page with the same news. that's when I'm going to be biting, and then I'll be like, okay, is it going to be, like you said, the Jim Ratcliffe, or will it be, Sheikh Kasim, whatnot? But for me, like, I just feel like it's too much, especially with, like you said, with, okay, we get 100 million, and then you have also, the outgoings as well. Too many conflicting stories where I just feel a bit, I don't know what to really believe. And then you have the performances the last few weeks that's been quite underwhelming or overwhelming. I'll say probably. I'm not gonna lie, I'm just waiting. Last few games, TikTok, wrap it up. I just, and I feel like as well that the whole ownership thing has been dragged out way too long. Will we get a definitive answer? And is that going to be the real? I don't know. It's a bit too much. I'm not gonna lie. So sometimes especially after the Brighton game and the West Ham game, I had to be like, okay, for my own mental health, I gotta listen to something else other than football, because it's just a bit too much sometimes with too many negative stories. I don't want us to go back to how bad it was last season. Not that I think that that will be the case, but you never know. Because I do feel like if we still have the Glazers here in any way, shape, or form, we won't be successful again. That's definitely what I really feel. So yeah, it's too much. But we'll see. I still believe that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I say that.
Hope is what kills you, innit? Hope is what kills you.
Yeah,
We got
brother.
Mundo. What you think? No, actually, Jarvis. What you thinking, Jarvis? Obviously, we're getting all of this conflicting news. We're getting the idea of Joe and Avram staying is, I'm telling you, that idea is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Like how he thinks he's a United fan, and how more debt is going to be loaded onto the football club.
Yeah.
I don't care what people tell me. People tell me, oh, Ineos have 65 million turnover. No, so how much profit do they make? How much profit do they actually make?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and how much debt, are they going to put on Manchester United? How is the debt going to stay the same? Is that going to hamper us in terms of FFP?
Yeah, the biggest problem is it's for me. I don't know so much about this, but Mick Ruby learns me a lot about this situation and things that I didn't think of. But I know a little bit about finance, and I know the Glazers are really good finance acrobats. They know how to flip things in their advantage. They know how to juggle things around, and for me, it looks like. Everything now is just what you can call it a comedy or a farce with the using the media. Who knows if even Jim Ratcliffe is playing his part just for the Glazers? You can speculate because he's up against the most wealthy billionaire in the world. They have so much money, Jim Ratcliffe, he has nothing to compare. So how is he going against Qatari in a bidding war? It's kind of ridiculous if you think about it. So what is going to happen? It feels like the newspapers and the media, we always talk about the Glazers spinning with when it comes to transfers and all that stuff. I think they do the same thing now. I feel it. It's not genuine. It's something fishy. So I think we can play the ball to Mr. Mick Ruby, and he will let us know.
You want
more
me to
about the
dribble?
situation.
Thank you for the long ball, Jarvis. Thanks for the pass. Should I receive it? First and foremost, I understand. I'm a fan as well, like you. And I understand everyone is checking for news and updates constantly. But I'm here to say that this is perfectly normal. In a time frame when you are doing mergers and acquisitions like this, there's no linear process involved. 100% no. But coming back to Sophia as well, I do understand mental health does playing a lot of fan bases around, because they're playing around with our emotions. And I just go back to all this PR spin, who sits there, and the DJ in charge is Neil Ashton. And it's clear and obvious, like, Manchester United is always being delaying the inevitable to announce things, and it's generating a lot of clicks and
Yeah.
social media revenues
Mhm.
for them as well. So that's one part of it. So it is like Eric Ten Hag. It's like looking the cow in the ass, and when you look the cow in the ass, it's all bullshit at the end of the day. So you
Hey,
gotta, no,
indeed.
yeah, indeed. So you gotta, use put your thinking hat on and just dissect everything what people are writing about, and look who is writing. Right? For me, as I always said, like, sports journalists taking a crash course in, finances, and telling you, and all it's missing is Fabrizio Romano to say, "Here we go," right?
Hmm.
So it's not like that. It's simply not. It's very complicated. We're talking about billions and billions, and the biggest sale in football franchise, and the time period has been taken through what media has been reporting of bidder and exclusivity rights. It's just basically the due diligence process, because you have a lot of people working in that financial team, and there's a lot of paperwork that needs to be checked before you sign the completion of the deal, which is you reach to the point where you have something called letter of intent. So everything needs to be, all dots and t's needs to be checked. The football director, shadow directors needs to also be submitted. And when you see basically the Emir coming to visit Rishi Sunak, it's game over, Red Rover. Why? Um, Geopolitics do play in a major factor, because Sheikh Yassim is not just buying the club; it's not state backed in certain ways, because at the end of the day, the level of political infrastructure, or no, sorry, business relationship with Qatar and UK, it's a lot. Basically, creates a lot of jobs. They're looking to invest in the Manchester airport, a lot of things, right? But at the end of the day, I've just been told that just hold on a little bit. Good news are coming. Um, but is it going to be a statement? Yes, it's going to be a statement. Will it be broken by one of those journalists? No, it won't. It will most likely be a statement through the club website, or they call a press conference to announce it. I don't
Mm.
see it. Had a podcast today with Paul White as well, as a therapy session, as we like to do, to sort of break things down. And everyone has played Monopoly, like, you go straight to go, and this is kind of the way we see it. Can we still operate in the transfer market? Yes, you can still negotiate with agents, the intermediates, but I can understand the frustration with people to say, I need to know my budget, but knowing that there's only one way going this way, and it's going to be sold. um, the reason per se why you had a sort of a strategic investment review is to see, like, as a um, could I stay as the Glazers, with investors, and clear and obviously they can't. Everyone looked the cow in the ass and say, why should I give you 4 billion, right, in a certain ways. And I can go on and on and on, but at the end of the day, like, it's clear and obvious that the media has been propping up this, putting more petrol to the fire. And
For
why? Because
sure.
it sells a lot of clicks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the only thing that's pissing me off, it's the global fan base, and I'm getting hundreds of DMs every day and trying to explain. And I wish I could reply to everyone. So all I'm saying, keep calm and don't believe what's been spinning out there, right? Nobody knows. I mean, there's NDAs in place. Um, NDAs is there to protect the bidders. I mean, the Rain Group has been doing this like an auction style, like it's an Herald style, right? You don't know. Yeah, I mean, seriously, they have been. I have
Legit.
never seen anything like this before. So
Yeah.
it just comes down to one single conclusion, that the reason why we are dragging on, because they want to have as much money as possible. The single clue that you can look at is the Qatari World Cup, where the Glazers personally went down there to mingle around with the sheikhs and the Qataris. And as soon as they took the bait, they knew they can extort as much money from the Qataris as possible. And Sheikh Yassim is there. He announced it public. One thing that we know, if Qatar goes in public to say we are in for it, they will not lose. That's one thing. Another thing that Ineos knows is they cannot compete, right? They cannot compete. They're tied into a lot of assets. Liquidity is one thing. You can bankroll it, but that money needs to come back sooner or later. So is it the last throw of the dice to offer, Joel and Avram 20% with a possibility to grow that within 3 years? I mean, if you do the maths, right, if somebody slaps you 1 billion per sibling and you offer those two to stay on to potentially earn a 500 million in 3 years, money talks. That's the thing. And another thing is that, the voting power doesn't lie with the Joel and Avram. So the one that is actually the most powerful out of them is Darcy Glazer, right? So everything else, there's logic and reason.
But she leaves the operation and the running of the football club to Joe and Avram, to be fair.
She does. I mean, and that's the perception, is that, everyone thinks that they are in charge, but there's actually 6 siblings that all have, a percentage, and everyone has to agree, right?
Yeah.
If you have 4 against 2, then 2 cannot override 4, right? So it's clear and obvious they are in financial trouble, even in America, even with the AFL clubs and stuff like that. So,
and their moles, apparently they own these super moles, and they're all
yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like, what I'm about to say here, it's my speculation. Basically, we are in a very unprecedented, the worst financial crisis the world would ever see.
100%.
Since 2008. People that lived 2008, you're about to see something different, right? So now it's the time to cash out, right? Basically, you have extorted as much money as you can for 17, 18 years. When you hit the brick wall, you cannot milk anything more. Clearly, you saw that in January they could not take any more dividends out. That was game over for the Glazers, right? If you cannot take anything out of the club anymore, what's the point of me keeping? And what's the point of me sitting there on 20% with no voting power and cannot take dividends out, and hopefully sitting there like an investment like Malcolm Glazer did, and hopefully within, let's say, 3 years, I might get a small share of it, right? It doesn't make sense at all if you do the mathematics, if you know Glazonomics. Now I can talk a lot about this again, Nuruddin, but it's your show.
Listen, let's go to Mundo. Big up to you, Mick Ruby. People, go and check out Man UFC Realist TV.
I'm tired about this, to be honest.
Everybody's tired.
We all tired.
I think the whole fan base is tired. They're playing in the emotions of the fan base. And that's why I really try to stay away from this topic as much and not try to do this update as much. But it's just that every now and again, I think we need to delve into it a little bit and just see what's out there.
We need to talk about it. We need to do due diligence of what the press is reporting, and we need to do due diligence of the bidders. That's it.
Exactly. So big up. Mundo, how are you seeing it? When you got the Express, me and you know the Express, me and you know the Sun, those trashy newspapers, xenophobic newspapers. So once they start getting on it, what does that tell you?
Well, I mean, when this news broke about Ratcliffe's bid and it involving the Glazers remaining at the club, I mean, I have always been very skeptical of that, simply because my view, and I think I've expressed it before on here, is that Manchester United Football Club is more. I know people go on about the Glazers and the money element of it, but for me, the ownership of Manchester United means more to the Glazers than just the money. Because if you own Manchester United, you own one of the biggest sports brands in the world. Now, I can give you £1 billion, but it ain't going to get you a seat around the table with those multi-billionaires. They've been going to Davos and all these big conventions.
Yeah, they have.
With Apple owners and, you know, Elon Musk, because they own Manchester United. As soon as they no longer own Manchester United, they're no longer relevant in that scene. No one wants to sit down with the Glazers.
True.
They're not very good business people, to be honest with you. I mean, I say that, but they pulled off one of the biggest scams in modern history by buying Manchester United in the first place.
But that was their dad, innit? That was their dad that bought
Yeah.
the club, though. You know what I mean? That was their
That
dad.
was the biggest heist that's ever been pulled, right, from a sporting perspective, because they should never. I mean, there was talk of Sky buying Manchester United at that time, and that was blocked, and then the Glazers came in shortly after and bought Manchester United. So
By
and the
default,
way they
yeah.
leveraged the club and everything else was basically a bit of a magic trick. They were fortunate to get themselves in that position, which is why they're fighting to remain in the position, because if they're no longer in the position, they're not relevant. You've just got £1 billion in the pocket. So it makes sense why Joel and Avi, in particular, would want to stick around. But
one thing, excuse me for interrupting you, but people keep forgetting the architecture behind it, and it's actually Woodward, right?
Yeah, and he's gone.
He's gone. So as soon as he's gone, the lifeline disappeared from the Glazers as well.
That's why they protected him at all costs, irrespective of the damage he was doing. So you're right there. And what Mick was saying about, and again, I've alluded to this as well, is why would they stick around with no voting power whatsoever? Just sit there in the background. What are they waiting for? Now, part of me, because of the trauma of their ownership, I always look for the negatives and the worst potential outcome. So in my mind, it's like, well, perhaps they want to stick around with the faint hope that somehow they can raise the finance again and rise from the ashes and take over the club again if they just stick around. But then why would Ratcliffe entertain them for any longer period of time than he needs to? If he's got 50% control of the club, why would he just have him sticking around? At some point, similar to what Malcolm Glazer did, they will force other people out because you want to have total control. When you talk about people at that level and their level of ego and the way that they run their businesses, they don't want other people meddling and telling them how to run their business.
True.
So if Ratcliffe does buy the club, at some point, I believe, he will want to have full control. It just makes sense. I don't think he would want those guys hanging around. But in the interim, it's a bit of a mess if they're there and he's there. So that's why I don't pay much credence to what journalists are saying in this country, just because nobody really knows. And to me, that doesn't sound like a model that would work. It doesn't make much sense.
But we also seen a lot of propping up of Sir Jim Ratcliffe being the local lad and everything in certain
100%.
outlets.
100%.
You know, because it's the fear of the foreigners taking over. They didn't have any problems with Newcastle being bought up with, they say, oil state-backed and everything. But if you look at it, it's not state-backed bid. It's a foundation. It's 9-2 foundation. It's not state-backed, right? So that goes out the window, right? Similar, like if your neighbor is painting your house white, the other neighbor, year after painting his house white, and you also want to paint your house white, and people come, no, you cannot do that. Like, what's the problem? It's the same thing, isn't it, right? No, because it's Manchester United.
Well, listen, we've got one of these journalists, and I've actually forgot his name. Somebody in the comments will let me know. But he basically
I know.
wrote, he wrote an article. No, it's actually not Delaney, it's somebody else. He wrote an article where he basically was praising Man City and how amazing they are and what they've done. And then a week later, he was like, "It's the end of the world if Manchester United are bought by the Qataris. It's the end of the world. The football is the end of the football." Honestly, Sophia, this is what he's on.
Interesting.
And people can do that with a straight face and literally walk around and pretend they're journalists.
But you got to look at how do they actually get paid to write these articles as well, right? You know what I mean?
No, I think this guy writes for The Guardian, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, he writes for the Guardian, which is just
It's also very common when they call dumb money and smart money in terms of stock market, right? It's very common that they pay off like some publication to drop some stinkers like this. So the stock is driven by valuation and speculations. Like this article from The Sun, as soon as that was released, the stock market of Manchester United PLC dropped, and then you saw somebody this morning buying up volumes of it, right? It's so common.
Yeah, I think it wiped 10% off the value of the stocks when that story broke. So yeah, it's and let's not forget that it was less than a week ago where they were saying the Sheikh's bid was the preferred bid. So it's like it keeps from one
just
party
going
to
back
another.
and forth, you know.
Alan Taylor says, was it Simon Jordan? No.
Oh, let's not talk about him. Let's not talk about that. Listen, that guy got bullied out of Crystal Palace, and now he's on Talkshite Radio, where he pretends that he's the big one, and he says it's actually embarrassing. So the thing that he tried to stay relevant, tried to make his name trend. I stopped retweeting stuff that he says about Man United.
Yeah, but you got to also look at who these journals are supporting. Like Delaney supports Liverpool. Then you have Ben Jacobs is a Chelsea fan. You know, where do you really give a shit about Manchester United fan, or just do you give a shit about writing your story because you're pressured to write by your editorial? You know what I mean?
100%. Listen, the biggest thing for me is just when I see what's going. Listen, there's nearly 200 of you in here, people. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Road to 10K. Become part of the Therapy Army community. The biggest thing, what I see of this is that it's just lots of PR from everybody, and it's just that Jim Ratcliffe he used to live in this country, but he lives in Monaco now because he didn't want to pay taxes here. And there's also aspect of greenwashing. I can't pronounce the brother's name, but we'll call him Hurat. Hurat Tamid. Tamad. Hurat Tamad. You're either trolling or you're genuinely a Ratcliffe stan, which is you're welcome. You're welcome to have a point of view.
Either or.
But, we would like to know if you genuinely support Manchester United or you're just trolling us. Because what
we're just asking for a friend, you know. We're just
Nuruddin, one thing is it's been clearly documented where you're talking about greenwashing, because you always talk about fracking and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So you saw that after Jim Ratcliffe put in his first bid, then he got awarded a fracking contract in USA.
Yeah.
Basically, he's been trying to get into that market, and he got rewarded. So this is, I mean, if you're getting free PR, why not? You know what I mean? Like, Ciliacos and all that. No?
Yeah.
Can I ask a serious question, right, about Ratcliffe's bid? Is it possible that he is just a front
for the Glazers?
Can be. He came out in the Financial Times interview.
Because the fans were calling for him before, that he is not the actual owner, because we know that he's borrowing money. So is he just a front for somebody else that the fans would go absolutely... I mean, the fans, I don't think they expected the reaction to this news that's been leaked about Ratcliffe. I don't think the club anticipated, because I suspect somebody around the club's been leaking stuff as well. I don't think they anticipated such a negative backlash to that news. They might be just to be testing the waters to see what the reaction would be, and the reaction has been very,
you're
very
onto
negative.
Something. I don't know. You can call it conspiracy theories or whatever, but he had this interview post summer when he went out to, he said he kind of was late to bid for Chelsea and on them jazz. You know what I mean? And clearly, he said, yeah, well, Joel and Avram, they're the nicest people and blah, blah, but they dine at the same table as you said, the club doubles and stuff like that. So it can be that, just as theory, it can be that it's been propped up to milk out as much money as from the Qataris as soon as they enter the bid race, right? But
or they just use him as I'm not familiar with the term in English, but in Norway we call it the useful idiot. Like they just use him because they know, so they hand him a little bit information, how the bid are going and stuff like that. So they keep him on a leash.
Yeah, you don't know.
Listen, I'm gonna go to Sophia. Sophia, listen, let's get into this. Well, we've got a bit left, the last 10 minutes of this. More than ever before, apparently on Twitter, and you know what Twitter is like, eh? Twitter is his own world. But there seems to be a Ten Hag out going on, especially if David De Gea signs a new contract. So shall we get into that discussion? Where do you sit with David De Gea? Where do you sit with a Ten Hag out crowd? For me, Ten Hag gambled. He gambled a lot because, and I said it, I've made 11 or 10 videos on here. I moan about it all of the time. He gambled too much, tried to win on all fronts, not realizing that other than the 5 players that he bought in, we know the rest of the squad, and we know the rest of the squad. The mentality is not there. They're not really there. They're not. Majority of them are not Manchester United players per se.
Mm-hmm.
And I am a massive believer in that. As a manager, as a coach, when you come into a club, you need time on the training ground to be able to get your fundamentals down and to get the team playing in a certain way. So when fatigue or when like mental or physical fatigue comes in, that they've got something to fall back onto. But where do you stand with David De Gea first? And the second question is Ten Hag out crowd. Is there aspect of our fan base that actually wants Ten Hag out? Because we lost 2 games in a row.
Okay. Number one, first and foremost, when it comes to De Gea, I mean, I've been a De Gea stan for a long time. He's probably been my favorite United player for the past few, maybe 6-7 years. I love the guy. I have a soft spot for the guy. For me in general, like goalkeepers, I feel like often they don't, always get the love that they should be getting, in my opinion. I just we've been fortunate within our beloved club with having some, quality goalkeepers over the years with Peter Schmeichel for the side, and for me as well, De Gea have been incredible. But I can't shy away from the fact that I know he was not going to be the long-term goalkeeper, whatnot, but I feel like it's gotten a bit out of hand now. Now we're going a bit too toxic. It's too much. Where people are now like, oh my god, he's shite. Is this? He was never good anyway. And I'm like, did we forget about the fact that he saved our ass last season alongside Cristiano Ronaldo? We forgot about that. That's out of the window. Because I didn't forget. But it is what it is. I still, we can still criticize and be like, hey, we pick you up when you do well, but I'm not gonna sit here and just, put blinders, in front of my eyes and completely ignore the mistakes that he has made, because there has been mistakes, but there's also been some improvements and whatnot. But I do feel like what you said earlier on, Nuruddin, with the fact that we've missed Licha and Varane and whatnot. We're missing that safety net in front of the hair a bit, and
The
we
spine.
right. But I still, like I said, I wouldn't have a problem with him. If Eric Ten Hag decides to let him go, I'll say take you for your service and we move on. And if he does stay, I will not have problem. I will not have a problem with that either. I'm not. I'm not going to be an uproar. It's your second part of your question. It's too reactionary, way too premature for people to then be like, okay, if the hair stays, Ten Hag out. No. That's when I think people are going way too far. Relax, calm down, chill. If he stays, back to manager. In Uncle Eric, I trust. That's all I'm gonna say. In Uncle Eric, I trust.
Big up, Jarvis. Where do you stand on this? Do you think the David De Gea mistake? I mean, keepers make mistakes. Obviously, it's the most crucial and costly ones usually when they make mistakes. Defenders sometimes make mistakes. Strikers miss sitters, but teams recover sometimes, especially when you got a lot of time. If your goalkeeper makes a mistake in the last 5 minutes of a game or the last 10 minutes of a game, it's mostly going to cost you. But he made a mistake in the field. Listen, I'm not a fan. Like I said, me and David De Gea, I signed the divorce papers a long time ago during lockdown against. It was against Sheffield United during a lockdown. Billy Sharp, if I'm not mistaken, the striker from Sheffield United. When he bullied him, I was like, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. So for me, but I'm not the type of. I think there's a thin line between abuse, abuse agenda, and just calling it as it is when you watch a game, being frustrated. But where do you see? And then at the back of that now, Ten Hag out apparently trended. I didn't see it, but apparently people have been telling me that Ten Hag out was trending. I mean, where do you take that, Jarvis?
Yeah, when it comes to De Gea, the first question, I would just let him go at the end of the season, because we need a better goalkeeper with different abilities. Because okay, I know Sophia, I agree, he's been great a lot of years, a lot of seasons. He's been the player of the season 5 years in a row or something. He has ridiculous saves. Sometimes it's out of this world. He's like a superhuman with his reflexes. But we have come to a place when we have a manager who likes a different kind of style. He likes to play out from the back. It's very important for his setup. The setup with the 2-3-2-3. There's only two players in the back, and they need to rely on the goalkeeper to play in between themselves and then break the line and keep the ball and keep the possession. And that won't happen with De Gea. And okay, we can train so he can have better ball playing abilities. But the problem is he needs better ball playing abilities under pressure. That's the key point. So all the time when he's under pressure, he hoofs the balls up. He ping the ball up. So for me, that's a big problem. But that's not the biggest. That's not the only problem with De Gea, because okay, he's been a little bit better this year, but the lack of sweeping is another thing I would like to see from him. And when it comes to cross claiming, he's very weak in his own box, so he almost never claims the crosses. And okay, we have had Licha this year, and he has like papered over the cracks with De Gea about the commanding the back line. But we are used to goalkeepers who command the back line, especially from Schmeichel and Van der Sar. They are really great when it comes to this. So De Gea, he needs to go, and we need to find a better suited goalkeeper. But it's not an agenda against De Gea. It's just that we need a different kind of player.
Fair.
And when it comes to the Ten Hag out, that's just Twitter. It's probably fans from other clubs just trying to stir the bee's nest and
stir the pot.
Yeah.
So I don't believe it.
Yeah. Big up Rashid. Rashid says, "Fat Man United have conceded 8 goals at home this season. Why is this not being talked about?" Oh, I talked about it. Like, his form at home has been tremendous and brilliant. Mundo, I'll go to you quickly. David De Gea, and how? Well, I know your views of David De Gea, but the Ten Hag out, especially when he's saying that, because I think De Gea signed his contract. They've not released it. They've not said it, but apparently, according to reports, everything's agreed, and that David De Gea has signed a contract. I think with because he was the highest paid goalkeeper in the world, and obviously United didn't take that year extension because they wanted him to cut his wages. So they reckon he's going to cut his wages to something just over 200,000 pounds a week. So where do you stand on that, and the Ten Hag out business?
So the first point on De Gea. So I agree with everything that Jarvis has said about the frailties in his game, but having seen how this manager operates, and I do agree, and I predicted the same thing, the way that he dealt with Harry Maguire and he dealt with Ronaldo, right?
Yeah.
These guys on Twitter and fans in general, they just think they're playing Championship Manager, where you just get rid of somebody and you get another player in. Now, what they've got to, these are the things you've got to factor in. He doesn't know what his budget is. We've got other areas of the pitch that we need to prioritise. We can all agree that David De Gea is not good enough to be Manchester United's number one. but we need a striker, we need midfielders, we need more defenders. The manager doesn't know what his budget is. He would be an absolute idiot to turn around to the club and say, get rid of David De Gea. Because guess what? Our number 2 goalkeeper, who's on loan, doesn't want to come back to the club. He didn't even want to speak to the manager. So that means I've now got to go out with a limited budget and buy 2 goalkeepers. Right? That's the problem. Now, if the budget stretches, if he says, right, let's give De Gea a short-term contract on reduced terms, we'll keep him. It doesn't mean he's going to play, because he might have enough money to go out and buy a goalkeeper, and then he can. And also we've got to think about team dynamic. David De Gea is one of the more senior players in the club. Same as Harry Maguire. I said that he couldn't come in and just chuck Harry Maguire out of the club. What you've got to do is play him and then say, well, actually, I've given him an opportunity. He's not delivered. Now I can get rid of him, right? You've got to think about the dynamic in the dressing room, all the problems we've had in the dressing room. You can't just say to David De Gea, you're rubbish, mate, get out. He can't do it, right? Mm-hmm. So with all those things so I understand his line of thinking in terms of thinking, perhaps I need to keep this guy. Perhaps we do need to give him a contract. If I can get a new goalkeeper, I will. And then I could just say, now I've created a competition for places. This goalkeeper I've bought in, actually, I think he's better suited to the way I want to play. So I'm going to play him ahead of David De Gea. And then next season, just like Harry Maguire this summer, De Gea might decide, I don't want to be a number 2 goalkeeper. I want to go. So I think eventually he will be phased out.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty calm about the contract situation, because it doesn't mean he's going to be Man United's number 1 indefinitely. You just got to think. You just got to look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
And think, well, actually, the manager's in a bit of situation. He's got to prioritise, got to juggle the finances and so on and so forth. Can't just kick the goalkeeper out.
Yeah.
And in terms of people trending on Twitter saying get rid of the manager, it's like the people can't make up their mind, and they don't appreciate the circumstances under which this guy is working in. They have short-term memory loss. Did they not remember what happened in the January transfer window when he said I need players, and they gave him Weghorst and Sabitzer, right? And he told them I need players. And did he not recall how he handled the Ronaldo situation? Did he not remember in the earlier parts of the season when he had the players that he wanted in the first 11 and they were fit, how our football was better than how it has been since we've had to rely on fringe players who are just not up to scratch, and broken players like Martial? He's had no striker. Also, did they forget about the summer transfer window and the players that he actually brought in that we are all saying, Casemiro, these are the types of guys we need, Licha? That's down to him. So I've seen enough from it, the way that the type of players he wants to bring in, the type of football that he wants to play, for me to say this guy needs more time. Just one more point. People have been making a comparison between Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and this manager. That's the other thing that's been trending as well. How people are saying, oh, you wanted to get rid of Ole. This guy's just like Ole. The football's as bad and so on and so forth.
Counter-attacking football.
Yeah, all of that nonsense.
Out of here with the ball.
Ignoring everything I've just said about how he's handled certain situations and the types of players he brought in. Because if you make a direct comparison, Ole brought in Wan-Bissaka, who for a long time many people were saying was not good enough. Okay, this manager's coached him and made him better, but there's still question marks. You've given us Harry Maguire, who we're now desperate to get rid of. He brought us Dan James, right? And now this manager has brought us Licha, who everybody loves, Casemiro, Eriksen on a free transfer. There you can see the difference straight away. And won a trophy in his first season. So
and
all of that
resurgence of Rashford as well, you know?
Yeah. Improved Rashford. Rashford's had his best season ever at Manchester United, even though, for me, there's still question marks over him, but we won't get into that as a left-sided wide forward. So it's just patience. We need patience. It's been one season. And okay, the away results have been dreadful. They have been really bad. And if that was to happen next season, then I probably will be joining those Ten Hag out people, right? If you're getting licked 7-0 and 6-3 by Man City and Liverpool, once is too many times. So if it happens any more times, even my patience will wear thin in that respect. So I expect much better next season, but again, it hinges on the summer transfer window. If he gets the players he wants, I'm confident that this manager will see better football. We will be, I'm not sure we'll challenge for the big trophies, but I think we'll be much better than we were this season. Well, certainly since February of this season onwards.
Big up. Go ahead, brother Ruby.
I totally agree with everything. I have one word to summarize both points, and it's called evolution. People, the evolution of social media people today, they don't have patience.
They don't.
We've seen it over and over again, constantly urging to browse, give me news, gimme, and negativity. You know, Ten Hag came in. I always said this analogy with Picasso, blank piece of canvas. This is his first season, people, right? What are you expecting? Just put yourself into where you sat last season in May when everyone was down tooling under Ollie, right? We won a trophy. Now, I understand the expectation bar is higher, but evolution for me is the game itself. I've been the De Gea's biggest fan, but I am the biggest fan of Manchester United as a team, right? Not player FC. Now, we've clearly seen that the evolution of the goalkeeper and the way game has been played, that, the modern game requires ball-playing centre-backs now, sweeper keepers, right? He's been trying to play catch-up. He came back from the preseason. His distribution has improved. But the role of the goalkeeper, to me, is the most loneliest position in the team, right? If you get it wrong, you get stick, 100%, yeah? The pressure. Just take one goalkeeper, Karius. Remember him. Remember Karius, right? He did a couple of howlers, disappeared, mentally destroyed, right? He was tipped to be one of the best goalkeepers in the world, like the prospect talent. So mental exists. But, in terms of evolution, yeah, I agree to the point that, yeah, you would not sell him off right now, but you say, well, what you would do in more astute way is to offer him lower contract wages, recruiting a younger keeper or somebody that could learn the trades and slowly fizz him out, right? That's all I have to say. Now, what's the role of the goalkeeper? Prime objective is to stop the ball to go in, right? But obviously it's been changed. So what you want, the center back with pair of hands? That's what it's turned out to be, right? In general, I mean, it's seriously, like, no jokes aside.
No,
but what I'm trying to say, there's certain accounts on Twitter that, the train has left the train of change with Ten Hag. And there's some people still want to thrive on negativity, and they run spaces, and all they do is drive on the fear and emotion, right? And don't get sucked into it. If you don't understand ball, just stop for a minute and just look. Give the manager time. It took Pep. It took. I'm constantly repeating. It took Pep and also Klopp 2-3 transfer windows of chopping and changing until it got it right. Look at Arteta, 4th season, is the 3 season, and now he's challenging.
Alex.
And now you want instant success. It doesn't compute. I don't know.
No, 100% it doesn't. Big up Alien Tenor for the super chat. Said few bad results and and the drones want Eric Ten Hag out. Listen,
yeah, no, that's it. Sit down and this might be the younger generation FIFA kids, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we are privileged to watch Eric, the Sir Alex seasons and stuff like that. So we are kind of spoiled, but we need to understand that you need to give the manager time to implement and shape his playing style. So basically,
100%. I just imagine Fergie took over in '86. What would they be when United finished 13th? One time they finished 9th.
Yeah.
Under Fergie, and this Fergie was spending money as well at this time, clearing out lots of the drinking culture in the 80s at Manchester United. So,
and you're still operating under the Glazers.
It was that Mark Robbins. It was that Matt Robbins goal in the FA Cup, wasn't it? that say Fergie. There was a banner. There's a famous banner saying Fergie out, forget Fergie out. You know, and that is history, people. That is history. So if you're gonna know anything about your football club, know your history of the football club. Listen, Erik ten Hag, for me, I think he went too much. I think I think you can criticize a manager. I don't think there's anything wrong with criticizing a manager, because at the end of the day, it's a football opinion. But from being criticizing the manager and then to being the manager out, to me, it's like there's a long road. There's a long road before you get there.
Yep.
So, I mean, what do you say to that, Sophie? Like, there is a big difference to be able to say, you know what?
It is.
Today, his tactics, the team that he picked. When I saw that team against West Ham, when I saw the lineup, I was like, and then I saw the actual when they got on the pitch, Bruno on the left. I'm like, we draw or we lose when we play Bruno on the left. And then when you start Workhorse, I mean, first 15 games Workhorse worked, Sophia. But I knew we were going to struggle in that game. You know what I mean? And I called it out straight away.
Yeah, no, it's like you said, it's like can we be in the middle? Do we have to be, okay, Ten Hag out. Chill, people. We can criticize, but we can still back the manager. It's completely fine to criticize the in-game management or substitutions and stuff like that. That's completely fine.
Mm-hmm.
But don't.
But I guess you select. I guess you select the players based on who you're playing and who you trust, right? Isn't it? Being and getting it wrong. I mean, obviously he's been coming out and say, "I got this one wrong," yeah. But you learn, right? I always say that in life to my employees and everything that I manage. I say, if you don't give the job to somebody you don't trust, if you know that they cannot complete it, right? Then you rather do it yourself. True?
Yeah, facts.
So you got to trust.
Yeah. And don't forget that before we went on this dodgy run, that people in the mainstream media, people on Twitter and everything else were saying that Ten Hag was a genius, because every decision he was making was coming off, including in-game substitutions, right? And he was bringing on Garnacho and stuff like that, and they were changing the game and winning games for us. As soon as that kind of stopped, because that was never going to last forever. As soon as that stopped, now everyone's saying they don't know what he's doing. So it's kind of like, what are you talking about? Like literally a month or two ago, everyone was calling him Erik ten Hag genius,
but put yourself in a situation.
References and all kinds.
I don't know what you're doing for work, for living, but are you going to be able to perform 365 days a week?
No.
Of course, you're going to have a,
You're going to have a dip. It's going to be a dip.
Yeah, it's going to be
my only
criticism.
I think my only criticism, and I think it's a valid one, is that I would not have messed about with the Europa League. I think they're flying. I think they're mentally and physically fatigued. But there are players like Eriksen who were out for three months. And even then I'm thinking, are we demanding too much from a player that's had 3 months off? The form's going to go yo-yo because he's just getting back into fitness. But it's that one thing. But I predicted that there's going to be a collapse towards the end of the season, because Manchester United have played more games than anybody else.
They have.
Yeah.
More games than anybody else this year, especially being
it's
a World
also
Cup.
The first breaks in September as well. Is what I heard.
Exactly, Sophia. My worry is that I believe Liverpool had a horrendous start to the season. Obviously, the injuries cost them because of the fatigue, because they went for everything. When you go for everything mentally and physically, it takes it out of you. What I'm worried, my biggest worry for Ten Hag is next season. If he's not backed, if the Glazers are still playing their games, and if he's not fully backed, because I think he's going to have to buy in 4 or 5 new starters in the team for it to refresh that in the starting lineup. I think if he tries to play that again, go for everything next season, I think the players are going to burn out. I genuinely think that. I don't think we're going to have a great start to the season if he's not allowed to freshen up the team. And especially if he's not allowed to take players on a pre-season tour and where he can drill the mentality, the style and how he wants to play.
I saw you on the you talked about this with Adam on the stand the other day, didn't you? So basically spot on what you said there, because that's so important that he gets his signings before he flies off to US, basically, so he can work with them. And the players that have been like Bruno, everyone that's played all these minutes and seconds deserve a freaking rest, to be honest, right?
They
It's
do.
it's tolling. And it point, I mean, we played more than everyone else. And the fact that Liverpool is coming up because they dropped off early from Champions League, FA Cup, and all these cups, so they've just been focusing on Premier League. Simple as that.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's all. Listen, big up to everybody. Big up to Therapy and big up to all of you. It's way late and it's still light. I can see behind Jarvis. It's Oslo light as well, or is it just the north of Norway?
It's dark. Pitch dark.
Sophia's checking. Big up. It's still light. Still light, man. It's crazy. It's
Are
crazy.
any of
light
you guys
here.
in that in the part of Norway where it's like darkness half of the year and light the other half of the year?
That's Jarvis. That's where Jarvis lives.
All right, okay.
That's where
Northern.
Jarvis is. It's crazy. It's crazy to sleep, but once you're born there and you're used to it, it's what it is. Listen, big up to everybody. Big up Therapy Army. Listen, we're going to be live tomorrow around 10:35, around the same time for the preview of Wolves, which is to me one of the biggest games of the season because the importance of that 3 points are huge, absolutely huge.
Yes.
And we're going to get into it. So hopefully we'll hear from him, hear from Ten Hag tomorrow afternoon. I think it might be 12:30, 1 o'clock UK time for the press conference. But big up to everybody, love and like. And yeah, Lilith, I understand you're Ten Hag out. You're one of the members in this. I never try to silence anybody in this channel. That's one rule we have. As long as you keep it respectful and you're not abusing anybody, you are allowed to have your own opinion. I understand that, but I think Eric Ten Hag might prove you wrong. Or maybe you will prove everybody and all of us wrong. Maybe he's not the guy. Big up to every one of you. Like I said, there's one time there's 190 of you in here, and maybe we've not even reached 100 likes. Honestly,
likes
it's
up.
crazy.
Likes
It's
up.
crazy, people, and it's for free. Likes are for free.
Yeah.
It is. For
And you
free.
burn extra calories by just pressing.
Exactly.
Yes.
That bit of movement. Like I always say, smash a like you're giving a little pat to Avram Glazers' bowl patch mullet. You know what I mean? That little, just tapping him on the head at the back of the head like that. Pretend that that's what the like button is. You know, the like button's got to be the back of that mullet, that baldy mullet. It's crazy. It's crazy how he gets away with that, honestly, by the way.
Well,
Yeah.
if you were hitting
Shave
the
it up,
if you were
brother.
hitting the like button like Avram Grant's head, then you'd probably break your computer. To be honest with you.
Shots fired.
Maybe it is. But big up, listen, it's been an absolute stellar dominated by Scandinavia tonight. Me and Mundo are the only two Mancs, and he actually lives in the capital. So I'm the only Manc repping tonight. We got a Scandinavia takeover of the Therapy Army tonight. So big up to everybody. We got at the bottom next to me there, but below me there, we've got Mick Ruby. So make sure you go and check him out on Twitter.
Thank
Mick
you.
Ruby. And then you also check him out, Man UFC Realist TV. Make sure you check that out. Yeah, make sure you check that out. What a brilliant channel.
Thank you, sir.
It's been a pleasure to get on there and hopefully to get on there again. I was out actually watching a Swedish band play last night in a concert. And I'm going to send
Which one?
They're called Omar and Sharif.
Oh, Omar and Sharif. Yeah, I know them.
Yeah, they were really good. They were really good. Amazing stage with full band. Somebody playing a kora, the flute, all sorts of things like the African drums. It was an amazing. It was an extravaganza of a gig, and I was like, "Wow!" I was blown away by it. But big up to them.
Big up to all of you.
Norway. I'll be sending the videos to Jarvis and Sophia. But go and check Man UFC Realist TV. Make sure you subscribe to that channel. And make sure you follow Mick Ruby on there as well.
You will also see this gentleman there as well.
Yeah, Jarvis will be on there as well. And then make sure Bowley, let's get onto this. So Bowley, Bowley 77, aka Therapy Armies, Rick Ashley. You know what I mean? Ashley.
Never gonna give you up.
Never gonna give you up. And obviously, it's the debut. And an absolute pleasure to have our sister Sophia Talks Football. To have her first to make her debut on United Real Therapy. She's made her therapy debut. She's come here. Wow, we've just got Egg. Big up to Egg for the super chat. All I wanted this year was to improve statistically, and I can't lie, I've not seen enough. We can't play from the back, bad pressing most, and still rely on a hoofball from Bruno, run behind Rashi. Big up the concerns. Listen, I understand that, but then also, brother, I've seen us score some fantastic goals where we are doing the overlap, where we literally control the ball from left to right, back to left,
Yes.
overload on one side, and then hit the ball over. And we've scored some fantastic goals. So we've also seen that, by the way. But
We're not
I
a
get
finished
what you're saying.
project. We're not a finished
We're
product.
not finished.
yet.
We're not.
No.
We're
To me,
still
he's not-
going on.
but
Still.
yeah, my biggest criticism is that he's not had enough time on the training ground. He's not had the time in the training ground because he's tried to go for too much. But go and check out Sophia Talks Football. The hardest working YouTubers I see in the game. Trust me.
Thank you.
Watch Along's got you covered. Watch Along's got you covered. So go and check her channel out. And obviously, Mighty Mundo never tweets. He's got toddlers, so he ain't never gonna tweet. He's always on the WhatsApp chats. If the WhatsApp chat was there, you know what I mean? He needs to, but give him a follow anyway. Now and again, he might tweet. If you get a tweet out of him, it's like something's happened. Something's happened. He's away. If you get a tweet out from him, that means he's definitely not spending the day with the kids. He's out somewhere else. So big up to Mundo. Hope to see him on Saturday. Hopefully we're gonna go to the game. I'll be at the game. Hopefully Mundo. If his train arrives in time, hopefully he'll be at the game as well. Wolves game. But big up to everybody. Love and light. And also Jarvis, also check him out. Weekly Armchair Sports.
Yeah, but I'm also on Mixed channel and your channel. That's my main channels.
Yeah. Big up. So go and check him out on there as well. But love and light, people. Sweet dreams if you're in the UK. Like I said, big up again to Egg for the super chat. We'll get into it. We'll get into a debate. But yeah, love and light, people. And we look forward to tomorrow night. Hopefully we'll hear from the press conference. We'll hear a lot more from where the squad is in terms of Varane, where Varane is in terms of his fitness, McTominay, where McTominay is, because he's looked like he's disappeared. So we'll know a lot more. We'll be back here tomorrow night at 10:35. But big up, especially for that Scandinavia. We've got Sweden here, Norway, and then London,
Woo.
Manchester. We were all covered internationally here, Therapy Army.
Hey.
Let's be having you. Glazers out, bankers out, especially
Glazers out.
Jim,
Glazers out.
Ratcliffe. Take care, people. Adios. Good night.
Peace.
Ha det bra. Peace
Ha
out.
det bra.
Ja, det